Okay, this is a quick history and overview of cloud computing. If you have a little bit of knowledge about the history and you know what cloud computing is, feel free to skip this lecture. In order for us to understand what cloud computing is, we must first understand what is a data center. And a data center is a physical facility, a facility that houses the compute and other infrastructure for an organization. All of its digital data, its computing infrastructure, think of it as the servers, the racks, the physical data center, the physical facility that houses an organization's computing facilities. That's what is called a data center, or what currently is called a data center. But how does it relate to cloud computing? Let's get into that. A brief history. In the early 2000s, it was very commonplace to have very large data centers, but basically for those data centers to be very underutilized, meaning like only 20% of the data center capacity was being utilized at any given time. Now, what did that mean? They Data centers were actually being built for worst case scenarios. What that meant was, let's assume for argument's sake that at your peak capacity, your data center needs I don't know, 1,000 servers, right? But that peak capacity, that peak demand, let's assume for argument's sake that you are a retailer like Amazon, and the peak capacity for your requirement happens around Christmas time every year, right? But at Christmas time, you need those 1,000 servers. Otherwise, that customers that are going to log in are not going to be able to place their orders. So data centers were being built for these worst case scenarios, but during normal operations, just on a regular Monday, Tuesday, whatever, when it's not the Christmas season, when it's not high demand, this extra capacity was being underutilized. What that meant was, let's assume for argument's sake, you built for 1,000 servers. Let's just say 200 or 400 of those servers were being utilized at a given time. The rest of them were sitting idle. Now, this was not considered a problem by many other companies, but Amazon, being the high efficiency company that they are, they viewed this as a problem because they said, well, we have all this extra capacity. It's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. Well, we're not utilizing it. Let's try to solve this problem. See if we can lease this extra data center capacity to somebody else. So what they started doing was they started developing computing and storage services and started offering those computing and storage services to customers over the internet. Um, Provide your credit card, and you can come into our data center and use our data center's compute and storage capacity. That way, you can utilize our idle data center, and you don't have to build your own. And when they started developing this model, the rest is history. And this is how cloud computing came about. Right? First, you had the data centers. It's the physical location, and everybody developed their own and created their own physical data centers. But at the advent of the cloud, the idea was a lot of companies who are very adept at building data centers, for example, Amazon, for example, Google, for example, Microsoft, they're amazing at building these incredibly large data centers. How about you let us build the data center and you lease our data center capacity, meaning the customer gets to lease our data center capacity. You don't have to build your own. And that's how cloud computing came about. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the on demand delivery of computing resources over the internet. Think of the internet as the cloud. Whenever you see the internet represented in any diagrams, it's usually represented by a cloud icon. And services such as storage infrastructures, databases, networking, and software analytics and intelligence are delivered to customers over the public internet. What that means is you don't have to have a data center. You want to use or you want to utilize storage capacity, compute capacity. How about you use our data center and we provide those services to you over the public internet? And that is cloud computing.